a local leader pushing to take power back. His efforts to rewrite the rules and reopen local businesses. Plus, COVID at Costco. Nearly 200 employees infected. Now the Yakima Health Department's conclusion following their investigation into the outbreak. Good Morning Northwest continues right now.
From Camp KVUE Local News, this is Good Morning Northwest.
Good morning, Northwest, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. We've been seeing some strong wind move across the region. Let's check in first thing with Chief Meteorologist Kristen Walls. Kristen, I know at least one power pole has come down in Franklin County.
Yes, you know, I'm sitting there with the chat room with the National Weather Service and just seeing some of the recent reports. 60 miles per hour in some spots, up to 74 in other spots. So yeah, certainly this is a strong front as it moves on through. Thankfully, it's not going to last all day long. So that is the good news as you're waking up this morning. So let's get you started first with that live look. This is in downtown Yakima. You can see the flag there in the background just really flying early this morning. We are looking at some of those current wind gusts with that wind advisory, which is in place until 1 o'clock this afternoon. So there is an improvement there in Pendleton. It was up to 64. Now you're at 53 with your wind gust. 40 in the Tri-Cities, 22 for your wind gust in Yakima, and then 37 in Walla Walla. So I think the next couple of hours, that's when the strongest winds are expected, but really clearing out. So as the sun comes up this morning, we're expecting drier conditions and that sun to return as well. Temperatures, though, are fairly mild with those winds. 50 now in the Tri-Cities, 47 in Walla Walla, and then 44 in Yakima. So there are your temperatures today, back up into the mid-50s by this afternoon. So as we head into the upcoming weekend, will we see any more rain chances move in? Your full forecast is all coming up.
Thank you, Kristen. Well, a boutique on George Washington Way was shocked when a car drove through its storefront last night. Take a look. Richland police say the driver hit the gas pedal instead of the brakes. The Amber Rose Consignment Boutique storefront was shattered, as you see, but it appeared as if much of the store's inventory was unharmed. Thankfully, no one was hurt in the crash. The Department of Health and Human Services is expected to announce sweeping changes to coronavirus vaccine rollout guidelines. It's an effort to boost the lagging number of vaccinations we saw in the first month. The Trump administration is reversing course and now adopting a plan proposed by President-elect Joe Biden's incoming administration to release reserved second doses immediately. That's according to a senior administration official who expects those doses will be distributed over the next couple weeks. The new plan will also change guidelines to allow immediate vaccinations for people 65 and older.
People are ready to get vaccinated. We're going to move right on to the next level so that there are not vaccine doses that are sitting in a freezer or a refrigerator where they could be getting into people's arms.
This comes as the U.S. has averaged more than 3,200 COVID-19 deaths per day over the past week, with more than 4,000 reported Tuesday, according to Johns Hopkins University. House Democrats are planning to fine members of Congress who don't wear masks on the House floor. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi already requires masks in the chamber, but that rule isn't always followed. The new fines will be $500 for the first offense and $2,500 for a second offense. According to an aide, that money will be deducted directly from lawmakers' pay. The move comes after 3 representatives tested positive for COVID-19 after being in lockdown together. Washington Representative Pramila Jayapal, who tested positive, says several Republicans refused to wear masks during that incident and mocked colleagues who offered them one. A respiratory therapist at the Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Seattle is going to prison for stealing medical equipment during the pandemic, then trying to sell it all on eBay. Jean Wamsley from Bonnie Lake, Washington, will go to prison for 3 months, then home confinement for 9 months. The investigation started last January when the medical center reported missing bronchoscopes and later a ventilator, vital equipment used to treat COVID patients. Benton County Commissioner Will McKay introduced a reopening resolution yesterday, basically to argue to Governor Inslee that the county should get to decide what reopens and when. This is in response to the new reopening plan that went into effect on Monday. Washington is being evaluated by regions now instead of by counties. This resolution doesn't give executive power to county officials, but rather states why they think one size doesn't fit all.
Is basically saying, Governor, let us control our county. Let us be responsible for our our constituents. And then at the end of the day, let it be the customer's choice, whether you want to go into a Costco or you want to go into a restaurant.
Other commissioners agreed with McKay's resolution, but asked him to clarify some of the language. They want the public to know that, again, this doesn't give county officials executive powers to change the rules. Commissioners will consider signing the document at a later date. The Yakima Health District says it's done investigating a massive COVID-19 outbreak at Costco in Union Gap. A total of 177 employees tested positive for the virus there between December 11th and January 2nd. But health officials say testing showed no indication of ongoing transmission among employees as of January 2nd. Investigators were unable to determine the source of the outbreak, but say the outbreak mimicked disease activity that typically occurs after a large event. Yakima Valley College has decided to continue to offer virtual online-only learning through summer quarter. YVC officials say the decision was based on Yakima County's current COVID-19 data, which shows daily case counts higher than the previous peak last summer. The campus remains closed to the public, with the exception of some in-person labs for specific programs. Officials say decisions for the fall quarter will be made later on. As of right now, our region is in phase 1 of the new Healthy Washington plan. All regions will stay in phase 1 until at least Monday. Here's what we need to do in order to move into phase 2. A 10% decreasing trend in case rates and COVID hospital admissions, ICU occupancy less than 90%, and test positivity less than 10%. The state says it checks these every week and will announce any changes on Fridays. Now, if we do move on, we'll get indoor dining, indoor gyms and entertainment at 25% capacity, and the larger groups would be allowed for outdoor entertainment. But there is a danger we could move backwards a phase if 2 of the metrics we mentioned are no longer met. Second Harvest has been helping our community throughout the pandemic, and they're not stopping. Today, Second Harvest is hosting one of their first mobile markets of the year in Kennewick. 2019, Second Harvest held 130 mobile distributions, but because of the pandemic, that number grew rapidly in 2020.
This year, we served 100,000 families out of the Pasco Development Center just with mobile markets. And all told, we had 132 mobile markets out of the Pasco Center.
In all, Second Harvest held over 400 mobile markets in 2020. The distribution today is at Eastgate Elementary School in Kennewick from 1 o'clock until 3 or until supplies run out. All right, it's 6:05. Check this out. You can now have your very own robot maid thanks to Samsung. Well, eventually at least. They're still in development. But this is the Samsung Bot Care 5 is what they're calling it. It's designed to be like a personal assistant with artificial intelligence to recognize and respond to your behavior. And it can learn your schedule and habits and even send reminders to keep you on task. The Samsung Bot Handy 6 can do even more. It can clean your house and even pour you wine. This one also uses AI tech to recognize and pick up objects of different shapes and sizes.
Oh my goodness. Now this is great, but I can just see a lot of things going wrong. Can you imagine having this robot in your house and
I know,
just moving, and then your dogs, what your dog might think that this
chasing it
thing,
down.
yes,
So futuristic.
it is. But
I don't mind the idea of it pouring me some wine though.
it's a really great idea. I
That's
love
a good
that.
idea for robots. All right, let's take a quick break here at Good Morning Northwest. But first, let's take that live look outside.
And certainly the wind still kicking up out there early this morning. Still some of our wind gusts close to 60 miles per hour. How much longer will these winds last? Your full forecast is coming up.
Plus, a new study projects the virus that leads to COVID may someday just cause a common cold. We'll explain right after this. Welcome back. In health news, a brand new study projects COVID-19 may someday join the mix of viruses that cause a common cold. Research published in the journal Science states the virus that causes COVID-19 could eventually become no more infectious than a seasonal illness. But a researcher highlighted the transition could take anywhere from a few years to even a few decades. Coming up next on Good Morning Northwest, Snoqualmie passing record numbers of snowfall. We're talking about that. Plus, Kristen Walls will have your full forecast. Welcome back at 6:14. The man who was seen in the vice president's Senate chair during last week's insurrection is now in custody. Josiah Colt turned himself into authorities in Boise, Idaho. According to court documents, Colt's accused of violating federal law when he entered a restricted building without lawful authority. In a statement last week, Colt had said he thought he was doing the right thing at the moment, but now realizes his actions were inappropriate. Colt is scheduled to appear before a judge today. The Oregon House Speaker is calling for this man's resignation. State Representative Mike Neerman is getting backlash after letting protesters into the Capitol building in Salem. This was back in December during a special session. Neerman hasn't responded to requests for comment. He's since been stripped of some of his responsibilities and fined. A man found with several guns and bombs near the U.S. Capitol last week will stay in jail until his trial. Lonnie Kaufman of Alabama allegedly brought several guns, extra rounds of ammo, and nearly a dozen homemade explosives with him on the day of the insurrection. According to court documents, investigators found the weapons in his car. They arrested him when he returned to his vehicle. The federal judge said he was alarmed by the, quote, small armory that was allegedly discovered. He said if Kaufman were released, he would pose a danger to the community. Scientists claim that wildfires do more than destroy homes and put lives at risk. A new study claims wildfire smoke will be only one of the most widely felt health impacts of climate change throughout the country. The publication, Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, published the study Monday. Researchers with Stanford looked at the record-setting wildfires throughout western states last year, and they estimate wildfires will account for a quarter of the toxic fine particle pollution nationwide and up to half of that pollution in parts of the West Coast. The scientists point to climate change as a primary driver of these changes. Washington's leader of public lands is trying again for a wildfire fund. Last fire season was devastating. More than 1,600 fires, nearly 300 homes burned down, and a 1-year-old boy died, and his parents were badly burned. Lands Commissioner Hillary Franz wants a state fund to help. This time around, she'll work with legislators to figure out how to fund it. Last year, she tried a surtax on home insurance premiums, but that failed in the legislature. Snoqualmie Pass along I-90 is continuing to pile up the snowfall, leaving its base several feet ahead of schedule. Take a look. The current storm that swept through on Monday into Tuesday dropped 23 inches at the pass in just 24 hours, leaving its current snowpack atop I-90 at 102 inches through yesterday morning. The total snowfall so far in the 2020 to 21 winter season has been the highest it's been in 10 years.
Now, Cap KVU First Alert Weather with Chief Meteorologist Kristen Walls.
And they're now seeing actually rainfall throughout this morning. Snow levels will continue to drop, but a lot of the wet weather through the Pacific Northwest is moving out of the area. So we're going to see those improvements and really just being replaced by a lot of wind this morning, keeping probably many folks up overnight last night. Cameras shaking back and forth right now from Richland's Columbia Point. So again, wind advisory that is in place until 1 o'clock this afternoon. It includes the Columbia Basin into the foothills of the Blues for Walla Walla and down into Pendleton. Gusts could be as high as 55, and you can see there in the light blue, that's where we have a high wind warning in place that includes Pullman as well through this morning. Winds this morning, these are your current wind gusts. We're up to 53 in Pendleton. So the last hour we are at 64. Small improvements in the last hour. 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts in the Tri-Cities, 37 in Walla Walla, and then right around 22 in the Yakima Valley. And I think the strongest wind gusts will be over the next couple of hours. Still going to stay breezy at least through early this afternoon until about 1 or 2. And then again, the wind should really start to die down later on this evening. There's a look at 7, 8 o'clock this evening with those light winds. And then even on Thursday should be a beautiful day with some sunshine returning as well. So the rain is out of here. All the wet weather from last night into early this morning has pushed out. We're going to be back to a sunny sky as the sun comes up this morning. That sunrise time just after about 7:30 this morning. There's still some flooding concerns out there. Back through the Cascades, we have a flood warning in place for the Yakima, the Kittatinny Taos Valley, we have a flood advisory that is still in place through 10 a.m. this morning, and then a flash flood warning is even still in effect for parts of the Cascades this morning. So the good news is all this wet weather is moving out. We're going to see those improvements, but the creeks and streams will continue to stay on the rise through at least this afternoon before they start to come back down. But just keep that in mind. Something will continue to follow for you as well. But here's Futurecast later on this afternoon. The majority of the Pacific Northwest looking at some pretty quiet weather out there with that sunshine. Sun and clouds in the forecast for your Thursday, and then we'll get a weak system in here for Friday morning, delivering just a slight chance for maybe a rain shower or two for that morning commute. Back to some sunshine for your Friday afternoon, and then pretty quiet weather on tap for the upcoming weekend. Saturday, even Sunday, should be beautiful weather. But we will see temperatures dropping. So average for this time of the year is 41. We're going to be closer to that Thursday, Friday, into Saturday after some fairly mild numbers. Yesterday, we hit 60 degrees, and then back up above average as we head into MLK Day on Monday. Tuesday, we're looking at that high temperature there, 49 degrees. Now, speaking of temperatures, early this morning, we're at 50 for Hanford, Tri-Cities, and then Pendleton and Walla Walla in the upper 40s. Yakima, you're sitting in at 44 degrees. So we're back up into the upper 40s for Yakima today with 51 in Toppenish. Mid 50s today in the Tri-Cities with 53 in Prosser, 53 as well for Connell, 52 in Dayton, and then 55 in Walla Walla. So overnight tonight, the wind again lightening up. We'll have just a few clouds around. Just going to be a chilly night. Upper 20s to near 30 degrees. So there is your 7-day. We'll have a morning shower on Friday and then clearing out for the upcoming weekend. A few more clouds though Saturday at 41. Back up to 51 degrees on Sunday and then some sunshine by early next week. And your 7-day for Yakima should be a fairly nice day tomorrow at 43. Morning shower there on Friday. And then back to some sunshine and clouds over the weekend with 40 Saturday and 48 on Sunday.
Thank you, Kristen. We're taking a quick break here in Good Morning Northwest, but up next, another airline is dropping their emotional support animal policy. We'll be right back. Welcome back. 624 heads up for travelers. The list of airlines dropping their emotional support animal policy is getting longer. Delta says it will no longer ticket emotional support pets on its flights. Only trained service dogs will still be allowed, and the airline will require owners to show documentation that the animal meets U.S. Department of Transportation requirements for service animals. Delta isn't the only airline making the policy change. Alaska, American, and United have also changed their policies on emotional support animals. Well, it certainly was a happy holiday season for online retailers. Adobe Analytics reports Americans spent a record $188.2 billion in cyber sales. That's a 32% hike from the previous year. This is the first time there were more than $1 billion worth of online purchases daily from November through December. Analysts say part of the boost in online sales came as a result of people not going to brick and mortar stores due to the pandemic. Among the popular items purchased this past holiday season, electronics and home improvement tools. All right, 625. Let's take a moment to check out our reason to smile today.
I'm going to introduce you to Remy. I love just the close-up photo. He looks adorable.
He he has the same markings of my cat's face. I love it. Oh, what a cutie.
Oh my gosh, with that smile on the face. Yes, he's certainly very photogenic. This is a good close-up photo.
Very nice smile.
Yeah, so thank you to Caitlin for submitting this photo. If you have one that you love to share, again, it doesn't have to be necessarily a pet photo. It could be maybe a beautiful sunrise or sunset. You can head over to yaktrynews.com in our photos of the day section.
That's right. Coming up next, more on House Democrats' plan to fine members who don't wear masks on the House floor.
And at 626, of course, those winds waking many folks up overnight last night. We're going to see improvements to our wind. And what can you expect as we head into the upcoming weekend? Your forecast is coming up.
Thousands of potential witnesses and a scenario in which we're going to have, I believe, hundreds of criminal cases.
The feds say the range of criminal conduct at the Capitol was unmatched. How they're tracking down those rioters.
60 miles per hour overnight into this morning. A look at how long those winds are expected to last. It's coming up.
From Camp KVUE Local News, this is Good Morning Northwest.
Good morning, Northwest, and happy Wednesday. Hopefully you got some good sleep despite that wind out there. Kristen, it has been noisy this morning.
It has been. So we've had the noise, and then I have a feeling there's probably going to be a bunch of trash. You know how it is, trash night for a lot of folks. And it's just kind of waking up to a mess.
That, and we've seen tumbleweeds flying around as well.
Yes. So just watch, watch on your commute to work. Maybe some things you may be running into that you shouldn't be running into. So let's get you started first this morning with that live look. This is from Richland's Columbia Point. And we will see some improvements. I've actually noticed, and we haven't heard the wind quite so much as we have in the last hour or so. Still up to 40-mile-per-hour gusts in the Tri-Cities, 53 in Pendleton, but that's down from 64, which is what we had in the last hour for Pendleton, and some small improvements as well for Yakima into Toppenish. So I think the strongest wind gusts will be felt over the next couple of hours, and then we'll see some small improvements. But that wind advisory is in place until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Now the rain is clearing out. We're going to see the sunshine returning today as the sun slowly comes up in the next hour. Temperatures, though, we're at 50 in the Tri-Cities, 47 in Walla Walla, and now down to 44 for Yakima. So there's that Wednesday forecast with the sunshine expected this afternoon and that high temperature of 55 degrees. So will we see any more rain chances as we head into the upcoming weekend? Your full forecast is coming up.
Federal prosecutors are looking into significant cases, possible sedition and conspiracy charges connected to last week's riot at the U.S. Capitol.
In 6 days, we have opened over 160 case files, and that's just the tip of the iceberg.
I think the scope and scale of this investigation in these cases are really unprecedented, not only in FBI history, but probably DOJ history, in which essentially the Capitol grounds outside and inside are essentially a crime scene, and a scale in which we have literally thousands of potential witnesses, and a scenario in which we're going to have, I believe, hundreds of criminal cases.
The feds say they're now examining 100,000 pieces of digital media. The FBI says it notified other agencies, including Capitol Police, the day before the riot regarding an online threat about a war and a storming of the Capitol. The FBI has also come out with a bulletin warning of armed protests at all 50 state capitals leading up to President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration. Well, some Washington legislators are showing up to work armed. Behind the new security fence and National Guardsmen and under the jackets in the Capitol were loaded guns. House and Senate rules don't prohibit the concealed carrying of firearms by legislators, and it should be noted that many have been doing this at the Capitol for many years. Kennewick Representative Brad Klippert carries, he says, and he is a sheriff's deputy. Several Republican state lawmakers tell ABC in Seattle that that fence around the Capitol should come down. They claim it's keeping people out who have a right to be there. It's a safety measure versus public access issue, and not only safety from potential violence, but from COVID-19 as well. For now, it's going to stay up. Most legislators will be at home this virtual legislative session. The governor's State of the State address is set for today at noon. House Democrats are planning to fine members who don't wear masks on the U.S. House floor. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi already requires masks in the chamber, but that rule apparently isn't being followed. The new fines will be $500 for the first offense and $2,500 for a second offense. According to an aide, that money will be deducted straight from lawmakers' pay. The move comes after 3 representatives tested positive for COVID after being in lockdown together. Washington Representative Pramila Jayapal, who tested positive, says several Republicans refused to wear masks during that incident and mocked colleagues who offered them one. President Trump appeared in public for the first time yesterday since last week's deadly Capitol Hill riots. He insists he didn't instigate the attack and had this to say about proceedings.
The 25th Amendment is of zero risk to me, but will come back to haunt Joe Biden and the Biden administration. As the expression goes, be careful what you wish for.
Now, before flying to Texas, the president took no responsibility for inciting the mob of his supporters who breached the Capitol, attacked police, and threatened to kill the vice president.
They've analyzed my speech and my words and my final paragraph, my final sentence, and everybody to the T thought it was totally appropriate. We fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. And we're going to the Capitol. We're going to try and give our Republicans, the weak ones, because the strong ones don't need any of our help. We're going to try and give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country.
Trump also railed against Democrats pursuing his second impeachment, seeming to imply they could provoke a violent response. He called it a witch hunt and said it's causing danger and anger in the nation. The House of Representatives passed a resolution calling on Vice President Mike Pence and the cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump, saying he is unfit for office after inciting the insurrection last week. The vote was 223 to 205. GOP Representative Adam Kinzinger was the lone Republican to vote in favor of the resolution. But yesterday evening, Pence rejected the call to use the 25th Amendment, saying it wasn't in the best interest of the country. This morning, the House is set to vote on articles of impeachment with the support from some Republican lawmakers. Switching gears here at 6:36, Rubber Ducky, you're the one we're celebrating today. That's because it's National Rubber Ducky Day. You can celebrate by reliving your childhood by taking a bubble bath with a rubber ducky or singing along to the 1970 Rubber Ducky song by Ernie of Sesame Street. That is a lot of ducks. You can post to social media using the hashtag National Rubber Ducky Day. Fun fact, January 13th was chosen as National Rubber Ducky Day because that's apparently Ernie's rubber ducky's birthday, according to a 1973 Sesame Street calendar.
So I had to run back over to my desk real quick because look what's on my desk.
Oh, perfect.
A little rubber duck.
Perfect. See, now we have celebrated today.
I know.
Appropriately.
Find your rubber ducky.
That's right. Break it out. All right, let's take a quick break here in Good Morning Northwest. But first, how's it looking outside?
It's still breezy, still windy across the area this morning. Wind advisory in effect until 1 o'clock this afternoon. So will we see any improvement to the wind? I'll have that forecast. It's coming up.
Welcome back, everyone, at 6:40. Some breaking news this morning. We've been telling you about that wind going on. It is just very strong this morning. So let's now go to Drew Miller live from the Pasco Airport. It is sounding like Drew just lost the connectivity to our show. But I think we're getting it back, and we are going to be going to Drew now. So, Drew, you're at the airport. What can you tell us?
Monica, Kristen, it's so windy out here. This face mask is being worn just to keep my nose warm. I'm at the Pasco Airport, like you said, trying to give you an idea of how fast the wind is moving. The tumbleweeds are just cruising by the runway. Planes, however, are able to take off. The Franklin County Sheriff's Office said just a moments ago that a down power line is on Dayton Road and Sagemore, so drivers, please be aware of the wind damage that it can cause. If you do see a down power line, be sure to stay in your car and avoid it. I was actually in Pasco just earlier. I saw a car on fire. The flames nearly spread to neighborhood yards, so luckily that was put out and everybody is safe there. It's just incredible how fast this wind is moving, so please be cautious when you're out on your commute this morning. Reporting in Pasco, Drew Miller, Cab KVUE Local News.
Thank you, Drew. And when we come right back, Kristen Walls is going to have a lot more on that windy weather for you. We'll be right back.
Now, Cap KVUE First Alert Weather with Chief Meteorologist Kristen Walls.
Man, it's been a pretty active weather morning. The wind have been picking up. The winds have been picking up across the area overnight. I'm sure keeping many folks awake overnight. And we're still looking at some breezy conditions right now. You can see that flag flying there in the background in downtown Yakima. We have the wind advisory that is in place until 1 o'clock this afternoon. So we will see those improvements. Now, the wind advisory is in place for the Columbia Basin into the foothills. Gusts could be as high as 55 miles per hour. And then there's that high wind warning that also includes Pullman until later on this afternoon. So some stronger wind gusts expected in that high wind warning area. But speaking of wind gusts early this morning, starting off in the Pendleton area, we were up to about 65 miles per hour with those wind gusts. And now around the Pendleton area this morning, dropping just a little bit. We're down to about 54 miles per hour early this morning, 53. And then the wind gusts right now in the Tri-Cities up to 40, 37 in Walla Walla, and then some small improvements as well for the Yakima Valley. Your current wind gusts up to right into the low 20s. So we will see those improvements. The strongest wind gusts expected over the next couple of hours, and then they'll slowly start to die down. Still a little bit breezy through early afternoon, and then notice the big improvement in the winds by later on this evening. The rain is moving out, so we will see the sunshine coming up as the sun rises early this morning. So thankfully, we're getting rid of all this wet weather. The rain on top of the snowpack into the Cascades, creating some flooding concerns this morning. We have a flood advisory for the Yakima and the Kittitas Valley, so those creeks and streams will be on the rise throughout the day today. Flood warning still in place for the Cascades, even a flash flood warning that's in place. This includes parts of Multnomah Falls. They're looking at landslides there, of course, the biggest concern with all that heavy rainfall that they received overnight last night. So the rainfall is moving out of the Pacific Northwest. We're finally going to clear things out, and we'll see those improvements over the next couple of days. As you'll see here with Futurecast, turning mostly sunny for us later in the day today. More sunshine and clouds in the forecast for your Thursday. And then we'll get a weak system in here for Friday, creating maybe a slight chance for a few rain showers for that morning commute. But the second half of the day on Friday, going back to that mostly sunny sky. Pretty quiet weather weekend shaping up as well. I think we'll have more clouds than some sunshine on Saturday, and then returning to that mostly sunny sky by Sunday. We will also have a drop in temperatures. We hit 60 degrees yesterday. We're still expecting numbers in the 50s today, and then low 40s for Friday and Saturday, and then another jump in temperatures as we head into early next week. So speaking of temperatures, out the door this morning, 50 degrees, so fairly mild start across the Columbia Basin. 47 in Walla Walla, 48 in Prosser, 44 in Yakima, and Cleella, and one of our cold spots here at 30 degrees. So as you'll see here today, numbers climbing up to 48 in Yakima with 44 in Ellensburg, mid-50s in the Tri-Cities with 54 in Hermiston, and then over into Walla Walla, you're looking at that high of 55 degrees. So overnight tonight, just going to be a cold night. Otherwise, just a few clouds around. Again, light winds are expected. We'll have temperatures for tonight dropping down into the upper 20s to near 30 degrees. So look ahead. There's your 7-day forecast. We'll have that small rain chance early Friday morning at 43, and then drying out this weekend. 41 Saturday with 51 degrees on Sunday. And then your 7-day forecast for Yakima, also that small shower chance early Friday morning. By Saturday, partly sunny at 40 degrees, 48 on Sunday.